We are live. And 1 second, we're going to record. Three, two. Welcome to another episode of Million Dollar Stories, where we get to interview authors from all over the world. You guys, most likely, you're an entrepreneur out there looking to start or grow a business, and this book is absolutely 100% perfect for you. I've always said that money is energy. And if you're out there looking to start a business, you need to just create a shit ton of energy with a lot of activity. You might have to say yes to everything. But then once you have that ball of energy, you need to direct it, and that's when you have to start saying no. I've always thought of that in that aspect, and I think this book ties in with that law of physics, if you will. Organizational physics, the science of growing a business. We have the author here, Lex Sisney, and the science of growing a business. It looks like it pretty much falls in line with the six laws of physics. So it is an honor to have you here, Lex, and I really appreciate your time. So looking forward to this chat.
Thanks, Mike. Happy to be here.
Let's start off with the genesis of this book. Why
Mhm.
did you write a book in regards to business and physics? How does that all tie together?
Yeah, so I had designed my life from 12 years old to be an entrepreneur, and I didn't have much of a plan for that other than I kind of tried to assess my strengths and weaknesses, and I concluded I didn't really have many strengths other than I could work really, really hard. Okay.
There you go. That's me. That's all I got,
And
right?
I actually have wrote a little sign over my bedroom window. If I work harder than anyone else, I can accomplish anything in my bedroom mirror. And I had that up above my bedroom mirror. And my kind of outline of a plan was I go to work for someone for a few years, I'd figure out what's going on, and then I'd launch my own thing. And that's what happened. And actually tried to launch one business. It failed. I had the kind of the core idea though, and I found a new market to deploy it in. And that business, after many ups and downs and craziness, it took off. Okay, and it actually became the one of the fastest growing tech companies in the United States in the first dot-com boom. So
Wow.
early 90s. Okay, sorry, late 90s. Uh, that experience, what I found was that hard work only got me to a certain level of scale. And actually, my penchant to just work hard and do it myself was actually the bottleneck to
Yep.
the company growing beyond me. Yeah.
It's a double-edged sword, right? It actually comes back to hurt you in the end, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And so what happens, like you're getting real world, one of the benefits of leading a hyper growth company is there's a lot of theory out there, and you'll find out super fast in real time, like what's good and what's not. Like, because if you think about that, like if you're making an error, but it's a normal growth company, you might have months or years until you get feedback that, oh, that was a poor decision. Yeah. But in a hyper growth company, because of the pace, the scale, like the pressure, you'll get smacked in the face all the time on bad decisions. And so that was like a wake up call for me, like, okay, what do I do? And the hardest part for me to figure out what to do was I was getting all kinds of conflicting advice. Yeah. I don't know if you've ever been in a situation like that. Like it's
Oh,
like haven't seen this movie before. I'm out over the edge of my skis.
yep. And I'm talking to multiple mentors who I respect and
Yes.
admire,
Yeah.
and they're saying all different strategies. And now
Exactly.
you have to go and rely on your gut instinct. And once
Yes.
again, you're in a world that you don't know of yet, right? So,
Yeah. Yes. Okay. So that's a really valuable life lesson. And I got really lucky because students ready, teacher appears, and my ego's beaten down enough where I'm like looking for authentic help. I was introduced to a group called the Jesus Group, and the president there, a guy named Sunil Davidi, they had helped transform companies like Bank of America, Porsche, Marriott Hotels in the 80s, okay, when they were struggling to scale. And I was too small really for them, but they had these models, mental models that really like made sense to me. And the main mental model they had was like an idea of a life cycle. Okay, it's just like think of yourself as a parent if you have kids. Okay, don't make the parental mistake of taking your 3-year-old and treating them like they're 13 or vice versa. You with me? You got
mhm.
to parent the kid at the stage. Same thing actually for business or product. Okay. And so suddenly they gave me this mental model to go, oh, okay, this is good advice at this stage. this is bad advice at this stage. And I suddenly had a lens, like I had a filter. I could go chunk, 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 chunk. Oh, good advice, bad advice. Just because I had that frame. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have appreciated it though, unless I was struggling, suffering, getting smacked in the face with upturned rakes. Okay.
Well,
So,
and real quick, there are good decisions in year one that become bad decisions in year
yes,
two, right?
exactly.
Which is
Exactly.
such a crazy, it's very, there's a hypocrisy to entrepreneurship where what gets you here will keep you here unless you change, right? That's how it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah. Yeah. So all that. So I really am a big believer that you must have uh, mental models or first principle based thinking that allows you to like frame up any situation, any relationship, any opportunity, any problem, anything in the world, put a frame on it and go, oh, okay, now I can see things from a different vantage point. Now I kind of have a much higher probability. I know what to do, and it's a good decision for this situation. If you lack a framework like that, forget it. Forget it. Because it's all listening, guessing, trying to copy what others did. And you can't step in the same proverbial river twice, right?
Hmm.
So that's the genesis of organizational physics is what are some core fundamental models that an entrepreneur can apply to themselves, their marriage, their family, their team, their market, their products, whatever, and know what to do and do it quickly. Okay.
Great. And so it seems like this model was basically, I mean, you started to realize that there's physics behind it, and there are laws you just can't break, I guess.
Yeah.
And
Well, yeah, you can certainly break them. You're gonna suffer. Uh,
yeah, you'll pay the price, right?
yeah. But some of those gambles you can kind of hope to pay back later. That's kind of entrepreneurship is you're trying to trade tomorrow for today to keep things going, so some of those things you're just forced into making. But it's really helpful to know I'm making a conscious mistake right now. I know it, but I'm out of options and I hope to play for the longer game by doing it. So
Well, case in point, maybe you can attest to something very similar. But whenever I was starting to grow my business, I actually had to take a step back. And I took a
yeah,
step back and I realized, hey, for 3 months, I probably am going to make a little bit less money. Now, the average person will say, why would you do that? Right. But I needed to do that to create the standard operating procedures, to nurture the team. And then,
that's right.
therefore, you can start running faster. Now,
Yes.
in that window of 3 months, the company looks like on paper that it has suffered. But in my
Yes.
mind, I know that it's now going to be built in a way that it's built for greatness. So
Yeah.
you have to battle those demons of, okay, this is going to be a short term pain, short term window that is going to actually make me look bad, but I
Yeah.
know where I'm going from here. So have you dealt with that, and how did you deal with it?
So there's a couple things I want to speak to there. One is that's actually a principle of one of those six laws you mentioned or rules you mentioned is that in any system, short range pressure will overpower long range needs. Short range pressure, meaning the urgency of the now, will overpower longer range thinking, development, creativity, whatever,
Wow.
and design against it. Okay. So what in that language, what you did was like, okay, I gotta step back, think about things. I really have to systematize how I sell, service, and deliver because we've nailed this business and now I want to scale it, but scaling it is a very different animal than nailing it. And so that's exactly the right thing to do. But notice that took a lot of courage. You probably had a lot of other pattern recognition from other entrepreneurs who had to do similar things, so you had some confidence. And I've actually coached very large companies to do the same thing. So like let's imagine you're a larger company, you've got a technology stack that's like old, it's buggy. The word technical refactoring or architecture change is being bantered around.
Hmm.
Like imagine you've got tens of millions of dollars of revenue, you've got customers that are unhappy, you've got this big opportunity you want to go innovate on, but you realize if you go off and try to innovate on that new opportunity, you're going to lose the core.
Yes.
Yeah. So the wisest thing you can do, I'm not saying it's easy, the wisest thing you can do is go clean up the core. Okay, reduce the friction or the entropy in the core. Yeah. clean up the software stack, get the core operating really efficiently, is printing out free cash flow. Now imagine you can go off and attack the new innovative market opportunity. Like it's a totally different game, but that 1 to 2 year investment takes tremendous cojones, okay? Takes a lot of guts.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow, I love that law. The short-term window will overpower the long-term window.
Yeah.
And maybe you can use that to your advantage where
Yeah.
you really can get very clear on what
Yeah.
the problem is and I guess solve it, but also to inspire and motivate the team might be the hardest part during that transitional phase. If the leader has the vision and has the courage and the faith, now you need to transfer that belief into the team.
Yeah.
That's a tough that's a tough moment. And I realized,
Well,
like, go ahead.
I no, I hear what you're saying. And here's the thing is that people have an innate sense of what should be happening, you know, what we're doing, what we're doing right, what would be the right thing to do here, and what we're doing wrong, what would be the wrong thing to do here. And if you have a good, like again, a mental model or a picture, you know, like, okay, guys, here's where our business is. We're in the mid nail it stage. We really got to systematize how we sell, service, and deliver in order to pursue this big vision. Everybody agree? Yeah. You're going to go, yeah, the work's going to suck. It's going to be hard. We're going to have to put a lot of hours and intensity, but it's the right thing to do. And if you just like can really speak to the right thing to do for this situation, this stage of our development, most people will go, yeah, get it. Or maybe they'll go, that's not what I signed up for. You promised me rainbows and unicorns, and this doesn't sound like the fun I wanted. So I'm out of here. That's actually good too, because you got to have a committed team around you.
Yeah. So I mean, it's a great test. I think of the hero's journey. Every time there's a
Yeah.
test, you find out, what you're capable of, but you're
Right.
also formed into the person that is required to actually slay the dragon that's ahead.
Mm,
And there's more buy-in from people. When there is a struggle and people come together, I don't know, there's a tribe that's built, and maybe that tribe is 10 times stronger than before that dragon ever entered their lives. It's great.
I think
So,
so.
um, law number two is fascinating to me. An organization is subject to the first law of thermodynamics. And
Yeah.
basically, and I think this ties in with energy cannot be created or destroyed. It can only be transferred, right? So, uh, can you explain this and how this applies to business?
So this is a principle that should be way more popular and well known than it is. It should be taught in primary school. You can build a successful business, life, marriage, friendship, anything you want off of it. More importantly, you won't have a successful life, marriage, relationships, business if you violating it. Okay. It's like really foundational. It's all the work, all of my work is based on this idea. And I'm just going to say it like this: finite energy in time, in time, finite energy in time. And just take a breath and realize that you, me, every person, every community, family, company has finite energy in time. Okay. What that means is we have to get energy from outside the system. That's why you have to breathe, eat, engage with others. You know, we consume energy, information, entertainment from our environment, because if we are just isolated, the system dies and it dies fast. Okay.
Yeah.
The kicker is that because of that principle, that truth, there's also this force of entropy. Entropy is this thing that causes things to fall apart. Okay. So just imagine like let's just say my inner state right now is a just a cluster of like indecision, self-doubt, uh, anxiety, fear, tension. You feel me?
Yeah.
Just like imagine the like my glass is really dark. Like I'm mostly filled up to capacity in the system with entropy. Okay. It's all falling apart from the inside out. Now, guess what? The energy I have coming in, I have to use that finite energy to reduce entropy first, to clear the dark glass to make it clear, you know? Could
Yeah.
like get clear-headed, get confident, have self-trust. Yeah. Now look, now I still have energy coming in, but think about how much more capacity I have, creativity I have,
Yeah.
energy I have to deploy to my business, to my relationships, to whatever it is that I'm passionately pursuing. You with me?
Mm-hmm.
It's no different. That same idea is true for your business. Let's think about a business that has a great market opportunity. Okay. There's energy out there to capture. we have a growing opportunity, which means there's lots of available energy, and we have unique capabilities. Okay, that's what you want. That's the strategy sweet spot. Unique capabilities, growing opportunity. But guess what? We can't get out of our own way. The entropy in the company is really high. We don't have alignment. We're not communicating well. We don't have the same shared metrics or same shared vision and values. Just feel with me like how freaking hard it is to make decisions and get stuff done in that business. Okay.
Yeah.
So
So
even
they can't capitalize on the opportunity
that's exactly it.
because,
Yes.
yeah, because their hands are too busy making something that might not have any excitement or energy behind it, right? So you're saying
Yeah.
that with entropy, or well, let's just talk about when you say the energy out there, you're talking about optimism, right? New technology, people excited about it, money flowing in, right?
Well,
You
yeah.
see that.
Energy is technically any form of usable power.
Got it.
Okay.
Okay.
And because I tie my work back into kind of, physics and principles, like we can think of energy for business as customers, sales, even market clout, resources it can get or acquire. So all these things, like maybe just picture the business as an animal that needs to eat. You know,
Yeah.
it's got to find opportunities in the environment to eat. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
So
It's
big
almost like new
opportunity.
sales. You need to keep
Yeah,
making new
exactly.
sales. Right? That's
Exactly.
it. New relationships.
Exactly.
Because very
Yeah.
much like entropy, there's
Yeah.
going to be what do they call that? Where it's basically is it attrition? I think that's the word, right? Where people fade away and the energy and people lose excitement. They lose their own businesses, so their
Yeah.
attention goes elsewhere, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So how do you apply this as an entrepreneur is what I would do is I would make a habit to scan your system, start with yourself, your primary love relationship, your family, your company. You scan for energy drains because energy drains are a symptom of entropy, and entropy eats away at the system. It's like imagine your business is a boat, okay? There's a freaking hole in the boat. What should you do, Captain? You
Well,
know,
you got to patch the hole,
patch the hole, buddy.
or and you got to remove what's coming in. Two
Yes.
things. Yeah.
Yeah. Patch the hole. That's what it is. So you tune into where the energy drains are showing up, and it's infinitely scalable. So you could walk around your startup or $1 billion company. How sales feels like it's draining right now. That's pretty scary. What do we need to do to reduce entropy and increase capacity in sales? Or our processes aren't working. We're working for them. That's the source of entropy. Or accounting is making it really hard for demand generation to close out accounts. Whatever those things, you're just like tuning into where the energy drain is occurring. And what I want you to do, if that's important to you, I wanted to just trigger awareness like, oh, that's like a hole in the boat. If that's important, I can't ignore it because the leaky vessel doesn't repair itself, right? The leak gets bigger. So like think about that. That's like a really powerful mental model to put in your hip pocket. Happy relationship feels like there's energy gains, there's flow between you and your leaders.
Yes.
Negative energy draining relationship,
Out.
that's entropy. That's costing the system energy. So you can apply that little simple mindset on everything. Happy, healthy company has more energy gains than drains. Happy, healthy relationship, more energy gains than drains. And it's universal, man. You know?
Wow. Yeah, and this could be people. I mean, whenever you meet people or partners, let's say, they're
Yeah.
drains sometimes.
Yeah.
When you meet
Yeah.
them for the very first time, you kind of feel like your soul kind of evaporates when you're around them. So you can
You
even
don't
sense it whenever it
you
comes to
don't
the
want to
spiritual level.
hire, you don't want to make a senior level hire with a person that it feels like you'd failed the airport test, right? Just like we're hanging out, we got delayed at the airport, and we're hanging out together, and I feel drained just being in your presence. You don't want to hire that individual at least into a senior position in your company.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, and there is something that's happening at the very core that you can sense it when you meet somebody. Maybe there's an energy level that's given off, or whether it's in your tonality or just the way we have our survival mechanisms that pick up on
Yeah.
threats or
Yeah.
things that are bad for us. We can
Yeah.
sense it, right?
Okay. But that's actually a tricky thing about being a human, what you said right there. Okay. So let me say that let's use you as an example. Okay. Uh, you have big energy, you're an entrepreneur. So we call that a producer innovator style. That's how you manage the complexities of your environment. Okay. You produce to get things done. You innovate to find creative solutions. Okay. Awesome. Now, you're going to naturally be attracted to other producer innovators like you. People also high energy, they get it, they're on
Oh
the
yeah.
leading edge. Okay.
Yeah.
But functionally, what you need around you, at least in some parts of the business, are individuals who have a cooler energy. Okay. They're really good at systematizing or stabilizing how we sell, service, and deliver. They're really exceptional at bringing everybody, unifying the team, bringing everybody along together. Just feel the conflict there, though. Like you
Mm-hmm.
have different pace, orientation, time horizon, language, even, you know? So
Oh,
as we mature, we start to realize, oh, like I appreciate this person's skills and approach. They're different, they're complementary to mine, right?
yes. A yin
Different
and a
than mine.
yang, right? There's no doubt
Yes,
you need it. And you
yes,
bring up a great point. My first hire, so I had a couple businesses that failed, just like you said with your businesses. And it was because my business partner was exactly like me, right? So
exactly. Classic.
that that
Yeah,
was a terrible combination. But my
yes,
first hire with this company, the
yeah,
complete 180 difference.
yes. So that's why, by the way, when you're dating for the first time in life, you're gonna probably be attracted to people of the opposite, like who's like you, know? And then you go through life and you're like, wait a minute, nature demands compliments, like, that's like important that and if I can't get a compliment in my primary love partner or my business partner, then there needs to be something that fills the void, you know?
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Yeah. And I guess what you're saying is that the natural instinct is to find people exactly like you. But when it comes to
Yes.
organizational physics, you have to
Yeah.
realize that sometimes the people who are completely on the opposite side of you
Yeah.
will be your greatest ally in certain aspects. Oh,
Yeah.
it's great stuff.
It's really good paraphrase.
Go to law number 4. An organization must shape and respond to its environment and do
Yeah.
so as a whole system. And does
Yep.
this just require just being adaptive, being able to pivot, seeing new technology, capitalizing on it?
Well, yeah, it requires adapting and innovating, but also digesting, systematizing. Okay. So just think about that. We know there's finite energy and time. So I got to shape the environment to capture it. Okay. But it's not enough that I just eat, that I get a sale, you know, or I find an opportunity. I have to digest it, right? I have to make it usable. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's I have to respond to all the change that's creating. Now, the interesting thing is the more innovative we're being and disruptive we're being, by law, the more change needs to be managed. Yeah. The more we have to respond to changes that we're creating in the environment.
Hmm.
And
And
you add the complexity of the overall macro changes. Like think about AI right now, right? It's on everybody's lips. Crazy change. Like all of our companies have to figure out how we're going to respond to that environmental shift, you know?
yeah, and to ignore it means you're going to be a dinosaur. That I mean,
Yes.
that's
Yeah.
how important
No,
this
you're
is right now.
probably right. Yeah.
And so it's not even just AI, but your competitors, right? They're
Any change.
using new things, they're trying new things. And it's basically, I love capitalism for that reason. It's a constant competition. Competition produces the best inside
Yep.
of you, right? It
Yep.
forces you to level up every single day, which means how do you differentiate yourself? How do I over deliver as compared to my competitors? And if somebody's doing something, they're going to catch the eyeballs, which means you need to play a different game. You need to make another chess move, and that chess move either can be in alignment or two steps ahead.
Yes.
So, what? Why do people evade this law? Why would I mean? I'm just thinking. Yeah, it makes sense. Is it because of a comfort zone that people are attached to that they kind of ignore the macro, right? And say, oh, well, I don't need to worry. I'm doing everything great right now. Our customers seem to be happy. I am good and our company's good. So I'm going to just turn a blind eye. Is that what it is? Comfort zone, period?
I think it's deeper than that. It's actually back to finite energy and time. Okay. Because each of us has finite energy and time. Think about it. It takes energy and effort to go and discover new solutions, to think about the future and how well positioned we are. Yeah. It's
Yes.
comfortable in the status quo. Inertia is a real thing. Inertia just means the status quo is there. It's very comfortable there. It takes effort to break out of that. And it's scary, right? Can be scary, you know? And
Yeah.
certainly some styles like yours want to like spend as much time in the future zone as you can, but that's not true for everyone.
Well,
Okay.
yeah. I mean, you learn your own weaknesses that way because if you put everything on your back and you're going, as fast as you possibly can, but your team isn't growing personally as much as you are, you're going to
Yeah.
hit a brick wall. And then everything is relying on you. And the moment you have a bad week or a bad month or you take a break, their finances might be disrupted. Their belief in the company might be disrupted, which means everything kind of shatters. So you might be running down the track faster than anybody else, but there's a bridge out ahead.
Mm. We do assessments in my company that kind of show how an individual is shaping and responding to their environment. What's their preferred style or work style? What's the style they are showing up with? And then the reason I'm sharing this is interestingly enough, the style that the company needs from them now. So let me give an example. Let's say we talked about you want to, I imagine, charge hard and be innovative and creative, yeah. But let's
Mhm.
say the last couple of weeks you've had to be down in like operational minutia and it's a drag, and that'll show up in this style assessment, okay? But it also shows how what you perceive the environment wants from you, the rest of the team wants from you. And almost every time a high innovator, which I imagine you are, a high innovator style on the report will show the company wants them to calm the F down, slow down, and, and help us understand. And that's
Yeah.
super frustrating for a person that's out on the edge because they're seeing all these trends come together and it's like hard to like maybe even articulate what they're seeing and just like gotta like put it back in neutral and slow down and bring everybody else with me. It's a drain. You'll see it in these style assessments. It's pretty interesting.
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about because I'm a ready, fire, aim guy, right?
Yeah.
I don't know, just do it, right? Just get this shit done. And
Yeah.
sometimes people need the step-by-step process. So it's making me a better leader. It's making me a better communicator to
Yeah.
kind of slow down and
Yeah.
then actually take my thoughts, articulate them down on a piece of paper, and then
Yeah.
make it so others understand. Because if I spend an hour on it and it teaches 10 people, I really am buying time. And I think it took me a long time to realize that. So,
Yep.
yeah, it's frustrating at first, but my oh my, do you really need it if you want to make an impact?
That's right. Yep. Because
Oh,
maybe the most important lesson there, reinforcement there is don't assume that people process the environment in the same way that you do. Okay. And leadership is about communication and alignment. And it's not what's not what you're saying is, but it's what's being received. Yeah. You
hmm.
know, and so because people process the environment differently, you got to come up, think through ways, okay, how can I deliver this so that it's received and executable in a way that makes sense for my leaders or the team. Yeah, I just want to reinforce that mindset of like people process data, information differently. We each have a different style. We got to keep that in mind if we want to lead effectively.
Wow. Yeah. So what I realized, and you probably see this happen too in certain organizations, the leader of the organization is out there working on himself, reading tons of books, being in these masterminds. If the leader's growing at such a rapid rate, but the team isn't growing personally themselves, the
Mhm.
communication breaks down, right? Somebody might be speaking at this 35-year-old level, but if they're only reading at an 8-year-old level, it's like the communication just doesn't land. And so it's your job, I guess, as a leader to help them not just become better workers, but become better people, right? And so giving them the inspiration and motivation and maybe some other outline on just development overall. So I
Yeah.
realized that that has helped me out because individuals I think stay in an organization because number one, they see themselves in that organization 5, 10 years from now, but they're
Mhm.
getting some type of byproduct outside of finances and maybe they feel more accomplished. They see themselves grow as an individual, and that's why they're in that position. So I don't know. Can you say anything in regards to that?
Yeah. Let's see. I believe that humans are intrinsically motivated.
Agreed.
Okay. And they're motivated by something. And you want you want in your organization people who have high skill, high capability, and they're intrinsically motivated for that work. Okay. What we get into trouble when we have people who aren't intrinsically motivated for the work that we want them to do. Okay. And so rather than trying to focus on like teaching and development and all those kinds of things, because I mean, wouldn't it be wonderful? Like you're a leader, like don't you want people around you who are intrinsically motivated to learn what they're interested in, develop
Yes.
their skills intrinsically?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
so, like I think it's more effective to try to just find people like that, especially in key roles, because they're going to go as far as they can with or without you. Okay. That's a better proposition than like, okay, how do I spoon feed or up, try to bring up the rest of the org through training, learning, development. And certainly some people appreciate that. But let's also recognize we have infinite opportunity for learning and development right on our laptops, or the courses we're inspired to take, or the books that we read, the videos, like it's there. I don't know if that's, I'm just trying to give a little bit of a different polarity. There's another thing here too. Like, let's say you're a high innovator and you take a trip. Okay, so you've been out of the office for 3 days and you're talking to people at a conference, or maybe you're reading a book, and you come back to the office with a list of 15 new things we got to do, guys. Had this amazing conversation. Like I read this book and it's amazing, incredible. And imagine the team, they're like, oh my gosh, again, like what about 3 weeks ago? You had another list of 12 things. Like, come on, man. Like let's pare it down to what's really essential for this mission and stay on mission. So there's a balance here for sure.
Well, I always think of this quote by Dr. Joe Dispenza, and he says that your personality creates your personal reality. And maybe
Mhm.
there's a law of physics that you can tie this to, but the more I put my personality on full display and show my transformation, I think I impact those around me more, and also I impact the environment, right? I'm also attracting in a certain type of person into my world, and it's wild how you start to notice that they take more action. They have a little bit more courage. And
Yeah.
maybe there's something that's rubbing off on them. Is it maybe just a belief pattern? I think you pattern recognition. I think that's what you said before. Maybe
Yeah.
that is what it is, where they have to believe it's possible simply because they're seeing it firsthand.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you can tie that to when it comes to organizational laws of physics, basically?
No, it steps out of physics into metaphysics. And I have, my personal viewpoint, my life experience, what I see in my clients is that when I'm clear and committed to something, everything kind of follows in line.
Mm-hmm.
You'll see that in companies when the CEO is like really clear, really committed, the company starts to act differently. As the head goes, the body follows. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
And the corollary is true as well. Like imagine your CEO and like, man, I can't think my way out of a paper bag. I'm sorry the day I ever started this company. I feel betrayed by my colleagues, my co-founder, like hard times, Just notice how the company tends to show up like that too, and so life is, I believe life is lived from the inside out for sure. That's just my personal view. So I get what you're saying, and I believe it, but I don't have a law to describe it.
Well, I think you said something there, and I want to touch on it. Clarity is an absolute superpower,
I
but
mean,
when you have clarity, like you said, you do find your flow state as an organization. That's really wild. That happens pretty fast. You
yeah,
find the right tribe, you find the right clients, the systems and processes are working together, and yeah, it does require that the leader, right? The leader's job is to paint the vision, give the team the resources, and then get the hell out of the way. That's it. And as long as they know where they're going and it's somewhere that they want to be, um, it excites them, it motivates them, and therefore there's this camaraderie of let's do this
yeah,
together. And I think there's something happen at the biological core that says I want to be a part of a tribe that wins. And when you do
yeah.
something like that, it inspires them to stay at the job, but also to help the person next to them accomplish the mission. I like it.
Okay. I want to say something for your listeners and maybe also for you is that What I heard you say was, hey, be clear in the vision, hire great people and get out of the way. Okay. And it sounds great. But if you've ever been in an experience where you've tried to get out of the way and it's been a total shit show, you know, what you thought was being delegated and done appropriately was not. And inmates seem to be running the asylum, and what the heck has happened here? So, you can get away with that maybe for periods of time, but as your business gets larger and more successful, then you actually have to be a designer. You act as a CEO, you have to become a designer. You got to design the system to do the right things, more or less, even when you're not directly involved. Okay. So part of that is your, strategic clarity. Yeah. And so it's not define the vision, it's define where we're at in our life cycle stage development. Are we in the pilot stage, the nail it stage, or the scale it stage, or later? And based on that, what are the top, three, maybe five strategic imperatives we got to rally behind and accomplish to move up to the next stage? Okay, that's contextual clarity, very important. You got to design the culture. Culture
Oh,
is around core values, and basically, what is the worst behavior we'll tolerate? Okay, like that has to be clear, and you have to be able to fire people, and this is actually a way of
standards.
training. How do we interact with each other here? You got to have great people. You got to design that, but also you have to design a scalable structure. Structure is not the org chart. Structure is how the business is designed. Okay, design controls behavior. So if you've had a structure that was organic, that took you through startup, and now you're starting to scale up or launch new products, new markets, if you try to do that in your old structure, you're gonna okay guys, go get it, and it's going to be a disaster because the old structure is supporting the old strategy. So the strategy or the life cycle stage changes. You got to change the structure, the org design, to support that new strategy if you hope to be successful. And then another area, but which I didn't appreciate until later in life, is you got to design the right processes so that good decisions get made and implemented quickly. And process can sound like a dirty word, but if you're a sports fan, just think of all the processes of giving and receiving the ball, of play calling, of how we practice, how we prepare. Like, all process is what allows you to be efficient and effective in the business. And so I'm just trying to give a little more color of like really what it means to go from entrepreneur to CEO is you got to like design this thing to do the right thing now and over time.
Well, I've been around so many people that, they're 55 years old and they're completely burned up inside. And there is no way for them to create these SOPs and what are your KPIs? Well, I don't know, sales. Like, these people have built a business around them to such a degree, it wears them down. And
Yeah.
at a certain point, you can look in their eyes and you realize they're tapping out. And
Yeah.
the more I see that, the more you realize I can't just be an entrepreneur. I need to be a CEO and I need to build a business in a scalable way. So
Yeah.
therefore, I am sort of, cut out of every process, even though that I don't know, my fingerprints are on everything. It's just, it's a different strategy. If you're a great sales rep, it's tough to get out being a sales because number one, you're good at, but you love it too. It's tough for you to break away from some things that come naturally to you. And to become a CEO, things got to run in a certain way without you even being involved at all. And I think that the more people build a scalable business, almost have the mentality, I'm going to sell my business. And in order for it to be a sellable asset, I can't be involved. It does something to you. You build it in a certain way. And it doesn't mean you can't be involved in some aspects, but my God, you just start to think on a different level.
Correct. Yep.
Yeah.
And
So, go ahead.
you can play to your strengths as an entrepreneur and be a CEO, right? You don't have to try to um, be who you're not in order to make this journey. I would just want to say that. Like, so you can be a sales oriented CEO and continue to thrive at that and design the system to scale. Like, you don't have to step out of your genius to be someone you're not in order to make it work. I just want to help reinforce that.
Nice. I want to touch on this is my favorite law of this. An organization is subject to the laws of motion. I do
Hmm.
always say an object in motion stays in motion. So when there are
Yeah.
people who are a little bit hesitant to take a shot, I realize that they will not learn, they will not progress, they will not step up the ladder of mastery unless they just keep taking shots. So I'm
Yeah.
a guy that just says, hey, we need to get the ball rolling. Okay. And I know we're not shooting for perfection right out of the gate, but we need to create some type of motion because that'll
Yeah,
create momentum.
yeah,
Momentum will finally, be with us. It won't be against us, it'll be with us. And once we have that in place, then we can tweak it to perfection. So, can you tell us a little bit about how important this Law 6 is?
yeah. So it's really interesting because at an earlier stage of business, it's all about trying to find a momentum, get things going. Like get being we're all we figured out we're being pulled forward by market demand. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
that's awesome. We all want that. It's a great feeling. But then as the business grows in size and complexity, what happens is the old ways of managing no longer work. And we used to be able to make really quick decisions, and now we try to make quick decisions and things for some unknown reason we can't figure out, just like bog down on implementation, you know? So now we got to like have these really slow, arduous decision making processes, and we can't even seem to execute quickly on the most basic things. You with me?
Yeah, yeah. I'm,
The,
I'm
the,
I'm automatically thinking of automation within email campaigns. The moment you make a change, you realize how much you have to change for
how much
that.
is, yeah, yeah. Okay. So the idea here is that momentum or inertia is a real thing. It can work in your favor, or it can work against you. And your job as a leader is to design this business so that it's working in your favor. And what happens at a little late this little later stage is you start to put emphasis into how decisions get made. Like, hey, we're not going to spend $1 to save 99 cents. We're not going to spend a lot of time on low level decisions. We're just going to push those as deep as we can. Go get it done, you know? But big significant decisions that impact the inertia or impact the rest of the organization, we got to recognize like, hey, it would behoove us to get a critical mass of leaders around the table to work this decision so that we're making a good decision. And notice what happens when you get to shape a decision versus being told what to do. Suddenly you kind of have ownership of that decision, you've
Yes.
shaped it. So your desire to go and implement it, you understand it, you've had a chance to shape it, let's get after it and get it done. So what happens is at a little bit later stage is you got to kind of develop this decision-making cadence. I call it in my work, gather the mass. You got to gather a critical mass of people around the decision so you can make a good decision and then implement it quickly. And it becomes this rhythm, like a heartbeat. Boom, boom, boom. And so a lot of my work is about that little bit later stage, about how do you keep that momentum going without getting bogged down in bureaucracy, processes, no's, no meaning a lot of people think they can say no in the organization, and you got to eliminate that and stuff like that.
Yeah, great point on the ownership aspect. I've always heard that if an individual comes up with their own idea and implements it, they have
Mhm.
100% ownership. And
Yep.
even if it's at a 50% rate, it'll
Yep.
still be better than you giving the 100% right answer and only a 25% like effort or commitment level.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
would rather have your team come up with the idea and implement it because they put more behind it, which gives it a better chance of success. Am I right?
You're right. And actually, a lot of my work is around structure. And the only reason to have a structure is not to control. Okay. It's to decentralize. It's to push authority down to where the work is getting done. So in our philosophy, we always push the decision to the implementer.
Oh
Whoever
man.
whoever is going to implement this needs to make the call. Okay.
Yeah.
So that does exactly what you're saying, even in a multi-billion dollar company.
Wow. I didn't even think about this. That's a great way to put it. It's a simple sentence that you just stick to throughout every hard decision. The
Yeah.
implementer has to sign off on it and say yes.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, we just call out who's the implementer of this, who's facilitating this decision making session. It's like super clear right up front that we know Mike is going to make this decision. So just notice what happens when you call out that the implementer. Well, I used Mike, but you're the boss, so maybe we'll just say I'll just go with Mike, mythical Mike. Okay.
Yeah.
What usually happens in a decision making session is everybody has opinions, of course, right? But you'll get into this circular toilet bowl really quickly because everyone has opinions and it's unclear who really owns the decision. So, Mike, you're making the decision. Here's all of our opinions and perspectives. What do you think the right course of action is? Like, everything changes. Like the discussion changes, the color, the context, the implementation plan changes because we're all lining up to support the implementer to drive it forward, and help them shape the decision. But at the end of the day, it's Mike's call. Okay, it's like a sea change if you're not doing that in your company today.
And before, I mean, we could probably talk for hours. I really can. I don't want to take too much of your time, but can you tell me about the importance of speed in any organization? And the reason why I
Yeah.
bring this up is because I think there is one thing that everybody will respect and pay for, and that is speed and convenience. Well, two things: speed and convenience, but speed for this example's sake. Jeff Bezos figured out a way. Okay, I'm going to say it's going to be delivered on Tuesday, but I'm going to surprise these people and have it delivered on Monday. It's the over deliver, under promise philosophy. But
Mhm.
speed, I don't care what business, what industry, if it's an email and somebody asks a question and there's an answer right away, the person has more faith in the company. So speed matters everywhere you go. How much do you preach that amongst the organizations?
I think speed is a byproduct of intention and ripping out friction. Okay. So think about what might cause something that's capable of going quickly, not. Okay. They're fundamentally lazy, they don't have the intention to go fast, or there's too much friction, too much entropy, too much structural imbalance, making it impossible to go fast. Okay. Like I said before, I think we're intrinsically motivated to work hard, to be quick at the things that we want to do. You got to design your business so there's low friction and key points so that speed naturally happens. Like go back to the start of our conversation. Our old way of working was be work hard to create speed. Yeah. You
Yep.
get to a certain size and stage of complexity where no, I got to design this smartly to rip out the friction points, rip out the entropy, and speed will naturally happen because like it's smooth, right? Effortless, frictionless, takes less energy, less effort. Speed's a natural byproduct of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So it's a good way to think about this question is actually a good way to close. It's like, okay, how am I creating organizational velocity? Through hard work or through smart design? And in the early entrepreneurial stage,
Hard
it's got to
work.
be hard work.
It's got to be. Yeah, I know what you
Yeah.
mean now. Yep.
And post product market fit, we're being pulled forward by market demand. Man, you got to shift, man. You got to shift. Okay. How do I create organizational velocity through smart design?
And I'm even thinking about the energy that is exerted through that hard work eventually starts to evaporate the life from the
Yeah.
entrepreneur's eyes.
Yeah. 100%.
As time goes on, your energy, I mean, when you will have less and less youth in you, obviously, right? And I heard this great quote. It says, if chaos is going to come, it better come when you have youth inside of you, so you can actually do something about it. And
Yeah.
so, in the beginning, use your youth as an advantage. But as time goes on, you have to start to almost take a marble from one jar and put it into the other, and go from hard work to efficient design. What was it? What you used? The phrase?
I don't remember, but I get what you're saying. Yes.
You it would have to be processes and it just systematic approach, right? So you go from hard work and put it into an efficient system.
Yeah.
Therefore, as time goes on, you become wiser. You have more energy behind you, but it doesn't. It's almost like the Jim Rohn quote: "Do more than what you're paid for. Soon you'll be paid for more than what you do." And it happens in an organization that eventually you hit such a level of mastery, it actually takes more energy to do it wrong, I guess, is probably the best way to put it.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's a good point, and just benefit for you and your listeners. The things that you design at one stage are not going to work at the next stage, and design what you like the processes and systems that worked for you last year won't scale 3 years from now. And so as you're designing those things, you got to be thinking about modularity and agility, and we can't predict the future. Yeah.
hmm.
Because what happens in a lot of companies, they're moving up this life cycle curve. They start to design systems, and before you know it, man, these things aren't working for us. We're working for them. There's so much inertia there, so much entropy there in the system that it's a hairball. Okay, so design for speed. Remember that. Design for speed.
especially with what's happening in the world right now. Oh, look
Oh,
at everything. There is going to be companies that come and go so fast. And if
yeah.
you don't adapt, you will die. And Lex, you have multiple books. I just want to mention a few other, right? Few others. Designed to Scale, which is another book I want to have you come back on and talk about. How to Think About Hiring, Play Smarter
Yeah.
to Win the Talent Game, and Ready
Yep.
for Enlightenment, which
Yeah.
is an insider's guide to the biggest trip of your life. Wow. What's that one about? Tell me a little bit about this one real quick, because that
So
one's your first one, I think, right?
yeah, my first one, I in that company I started that was one of the country's fastest growing tech companies. I got fired up. I got fired up to chairman to get out of the way, you know. And I was really devastated. And because they took my baby away, I had a lot of grit and fire in the belly, and they just took it from me, and I was just devastated. Anyway, I uh I wanted to, out of anger, I wanted to go start another company. And but if I assess my life, then it was very high entropy. Okay. Failing marriage, failing health, not very present. My companies are running me, I'm not running them, yeah. All the
Yeah.
things we talked about. And so I went on a journey. I didn't know it. I was kind of an unconscious decision, but I went, well, I want to go figure out myself better. I want to have self mastery. Where I had this metaphor at the time, like I want to be like almost like this Zen master, just kind of calmly influencing all these things around me, like a calm, cool dude in the center of the storm. And a good advice here for all your listeners: be careful what you wish for, because what I created was a magnificent amount of storms in my life. Everything's blowing up, high entropy, like a re-architecture of my whole life. And so I wrote that book, kind of as a reflection of that journey and all that I learned, and kind of I was closing out a chapter in my life, without knowing it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And
Anyway, I
so,
would read that book if you were an entrepreneur and you had a spiritual bent, and you were looking for like insight or ideas about how you might bring more of that inner state, inner essence alive in your work, in your business.
yeah, it sounds like you share the same sentiment that entrepreneurship is a personal development journey disguised as a business journey, right? And the more you know yourself, the more powerful you are everywhere, especially in business, but everywhere, I think.
Yeah.
And if you can be calm when there's a storm, there's the Count of Monte Cristo quote where, you will bask in the sunlight one moment, be shattered upon the rocks the next. What makes you a man is what you do when that storm comes. And I
Yeah.
think that there will be storms no matter what, in every shape and form. And it's how you handle yourself. And your future is not based off of conditions. It's based off of decisions. And it sounds like that's what you bought into.
Well said. Thank you.
Well, guys, I would love to have you back, Lex. I swear to God, this is one of the
Fun.
most interesting conversations that I've had. We've had done 150 some podcast episodes. I'd love to have you back. So please come back soon, okay?
Okay. Thanks.
And is there a website, a social media channel,
Yeah.
anything
Well,
that people can look up?
so organizationalphysics.com has all the tools we've talked briefly about, available for a free test drive. I would use the PSIU assessments to assess myself and my team. That again shows how we manage the complexities of our environment and what language and work style preference and things like that of yourself and your team. If you're doing any strategic planning, there's a couple there's like I have a new innovation on the classic SWOT analysis.
Wow.
Okay, so SWOT analysis it's brilliant and it's stupid. I don't know if you've ever done a SWOT analysis, but usually what comes out is some bullet points for strengths and weaknesses and
Yeah.
opportunities.
Right.
Totally useless, but the thinking's right. And so this is like a big innovation on how do you assess internally. It's actually an entropy scan. Where's the entropy showing up in the business? And then on the opportunities and threat side, it's a life cycle assessment of where our core business and products are in their life cycle stage development, and therefore what our strategy should be. So I
Hmm.
would use those. Any business could benefit from those tools. There's others on there, but yeah.
So organizationalphysics.com, is that what you said?
Correct.
And so the one test that you said, is it good for just people in your organization to kind of, is it very
Yeah.
much like Strength Finders or
Yeah,
Myers-Briggs?
like a Strength Finders, but it's designed for fast-paced environments. So it's good for internal staff and prospective new hires. So you can use a assessment to say, okay, I need to hire a account manager. What does that actually mean? What are the
Mhm.
KPIs? What's the style I want for this? I need for this role. And then you can, if you're gonna take the time to interview somebody in person or on video, you would send them an assessment, and that will tell you how closely they match to that target profile. So you can have a better interview conversation.
Patrick Bet-David had a podcast on this. He said, he finds out your birthday, he finds out your sign. And whenever he's looking for a hire, he's like, all right, I know that this person is going to be this, and just gives you a clear picture of exactly what you're looking for. And usually what you focus on grows, and what you focus or what you look for, you find, right? And so by having that clear picture of exactly the perfect, whether it's client or team member, when that individual kind of floats by your path, you can say, all right, that's
Yeah,
the one. That's it.
yeah, yeah.
It's great. Awesome.
And yeah,
Lex Sisney, probably the most marketable name I've had on this podcast. I really appreciate your time. Guys, check out his books on Amazon. The one that we talked about more than anything else was, let me go back to it. Organizational Physics, the science of growing a business. This is perfect for you guys if you're out there looking to start or scale a business. And, very, very interesting conversation we had. So, Lex Sisney, thanks again. And remember, guys, $1 million book will lead to $1 million life. Right on.